So what can we do to treat this terrible disease? And we want to think about new drug discovery in multiple different levels. First off, we can repurpose current drugs. And this is something that can be very fast. These are drugs that are in the clinics, they're FDA approved, and the safety of these drugs is already well documented. Things that we can think about in terms of purposing new drugs is things that treat inflammation. So that pneumonia actually is a lot of inflammation involved there. And so there's lots of interest in looking at drugs that are already in place to control inflammation and whether they can be used in critical patients to help them improve to avoid death. But we can also think of antiviral therapies. And these are drugs, those small molecules that will be directed against the actual viral particle. And these could be used much earlier during infection, during that acute viral infection phase, before this deep pneumonia and immunological syndrome sets in. And this is where our center has really been thinking about potential therapeutics. Here as well, we can think about repurposing current drugs. There are many drugs that have been developed for treatment, for example, of HCV or HIV, and there's lots of interest in testing if these antivirals can be used to treat this particular virus, and that's involved in ongoing research. We can also think about antibodies. Antibodies can be identified in human antibodies from patients who have been exposed to the disease. As we're now 3 months into this disease syndrome, there are hundreds of thousands of survivors in the world that we can actually probe their immune response to say, what could we do to look at antibodies as potential therapies to block the viral infection? And this can be medium fast. The major issue right now is you needed a pool of patients, which we now have, but then you need the development of that technology, which is ongoing now. You can also think about rebooting SARS research. SARS occurred in 2003. It's a virus quite close to this particular virus. And there was extensive research that went on from 2003 really until around 2010, picking up again around 2012 with the advent of MERS, which is sort of a distant cousin of this virus. Because that research was in many cases halted or was not particularly advanced, this is going to be a medium slow response. And that's because the work still needs to go through advanced stages of laboratory-based development as well as clinical trials. And then finally, we can just have de novo drug discovery. This is by far going to be the slowest, but this will lead potentially to the most specific antivirals because it will be designed specifically against this particular virus, but the timeline is likely to be very long. But we shouldn't shrug off this as a reason to not do it, because if we hadn't stopped SARS drug development back in around 2010, we would have a drug because this virus is so close that things effective against SARS are likely to be quite effective against this virus.